Hello, and this time on the Bridging Finance podcast, we have Paul here from Henchurch Lane to explain how an unregulated bridging loan works. It's great to chat with you, Paul. How are you?
I'm very good, Tessa. How are you?
Good. I'm very glad to hear. Yes, I'm all right, thank you. Little bit of the
Good.
sniffles, got a cold, but other than that, all good.
Yeah, it is January, so
It is.
most of us are
Yep,
walking around with a dribbly nose right now.
very true. Yep, at the time of recording this in January 2026, very true.
Yes.
Right, let's get into the questions that we've got here then. So, first of all, and for those that are new to this, what is an unregulated bridging loan and are unregulated bridging loans safe?
So an unregulated bridging loan is a short-term loan which is used to bridge a gap in funding, basically, usually for property. It's called unregulated because it's not overseen by the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, when it isn't your main home. So if it is, it can be different. If it isn't your main home, it can be unregulated. They are safe, but they are designed for what we would refer to as an experienced borrower. So it's imperative that you get the correct advice if you are looking at these sorts of options.
Okay, so definitely something to bear in mind there. And this next question ties in. You probably answered some of it there, but what is the difference then between a regulated and unregulated bridging loan or bridging finance? How do I know which one I need?
Okay, so yes, we did touch on it. If it's
Mm,
secured on a property where you or your family are going to live in, it's normally regulated. Um,
yeah.
if it's for, let's say, an investment property or a second home or a commercial building potentially, it's generally unregulated. The property use is what's going to determine the loan that you need or require, not your job or your income.
Mm. Right, okay. So hopefully that's clear there. And again, we might have some crossover with some of these questions,
Yeah.
but we have another question that asks, what can I use an unregulated bridging loan for? Anything else to add here?
Commonly used for property purchases. Again,
Mm,
it can be what we tend to find it more in is auctions,
mm,
things like auctions, refurbishments, chain breaks. So let's say you've sold your property, you're looking to buy another one, and your buyer pulls out,
mm.
and then you're worried that you're going to lose that onward house that is your dream house. You might use a bridging loan to bridge that gap to secure that property and then sell your property later. That's what we tend to find these sorts of. It's almost like flexible, speedy,
Mm.
taking advantage of a time sensitive opportunity. That's generally what a bridge is for.
Right, okay. A good way of explaining that there. Fast finance. Um, okay, so what documents will I need to provide them when applying for an unregulated bridging loan? Is proof of income required?
Okay, so you're generally going to need always with any kind of borrowing applications, you'll need your ID, your proof of address, your name proof,
Mm,
the property details. With a bridge, you're going to need a clear exit strategy that is evidenced from the beginning. So this is what they're really concerned about. How are you going to repay this or refinance it? Is it going to be through a sale? Is it going to be through a remortgage? Proof of income isn't always required because the loan is mainly going to be assessed on that exit strategy.
mm.
But it's always good to have income proof ready or to hand if you've got it. But to answer the question, it's not always the case with bridging loans. It's not always required.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, there we go. That answers that clearly, hopefully, there. So, moving on, people would like to know as well, can I get an unregulated bridging loan if I'm self employed?
Yeah, self-employment isn't an issue. Again, if the income always isn't required,
Mm.
the fact that you're self-employed isn't as much of a concern as it would be. So they're focusing more on the value of the property and the exit plan, more than your employment status, I would say.
That's good news then. So, the exit strategy is key. Um, right. Can I get an unregulated bridge or bridging loan with bad credit?
Yeah, I probably should elaborate there, shouldn't I?
Little bit.
Um, so again, it's difficult with this because obviously
Mm,
bad credit generally will go into a lot of detail as to what the differences are between someone with impaired credit. Again, it's not as much of an issue with bridging finance. So lenders are going to be more concerned with the exit, as we've touched on,
yeah.
more so than they are with your credit score. Although serious issues might potentially trip you up. So if we're talking about a recent repossession, that might limit your options a little bit.
Right. Okay. So again, that is something to bear in mind if you're listening to this or watching this video, and that applies to you in any way. Okay. So let's move on again. Do I have to pay the bridging interest each month?
Not always. You can find products with what they call rolled up interest, and that just means that it's added to the loan each month, and then you settle that bill on the exit. And that's going to help you if you're in a project that needs a bit of cash flow. That's going to be great. There are other options where you would have to pay it monthly, but there are plenty that you would roll that up and pay it at the end.
Right. Okay. Okay. Let's move on again then. So, can I pay back the money early? What happens if the unregulated loan is repaid early?
Yeah, okay. So you can pay it early. These sorts of finance options generally, especially unregulated bridging loans, a lot of them don't even charge early repayment penalties
Right.
after a minimum period. So it might be 1 month or 3 months. But paying it back as soon as you can is really what you're looking to do because every month that rolls up is going to cost you more. So yeah, the sooner the better, really.
Okay, well, there we go again. You might have touched on this actually earlier on, but how long does an unregulated bridging loan take to arrange? How long will my unregulated bridging application take to complete? Now, we've said this is fast finance, haven't we?
Yes. So it's not uncommon for these sorts of things to be arranged in as little as a week.
Right.
That process is, you're going to need to have an evaluation. So that's going to depend on people's diaries, like the surveyor and the vendor, the
Mm,
person selling or managing the land or the property. We're going to need to make sure that we've got some element of legal work completed within that sort of time. But generally, they'll kind of have almost like in-house solicitors. But it's much faster than a traditional mortgage process. And we have seen them being wrapped up in inside a week if people are really quick to respond with what we need from them and provide all their evidence.
mm. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea then of the time frame expected, depending on the circumstances.
Yeah.
Um, Again, you've probably touched on this as well, but just as an overview or to recap, what's the benefit of an unregulated bridging loan?
Um, I'd say the two main reasons you would look to secure that sort of finance is purely speed and flexibility. So they're going to allow you to move quickly on those property opportunities
Hmm.
where a normal traditional mortgage would be far too slow or restrictive, and you would lose out.
So really, they're there for a reason, aren't they?
Yeah,
So they're
absolutely. And because of that, there's a cost to it as well. It's
mm,
much more expensive than your conventional borrowing.
right. Okay, so that's key as well. And you've explained how a broker can help, but have you got anything else you'd like to add, or do you think we've covered all that we can for now?
I mean, with bridging, I would just say, look, it can be really powerful in certain situations,
Mm,
but it's really only going to be when it's used correctly. I think maybe the first question we touched on the fact that
yeah.
it is really designed for experienced borrowers, but even experienced borrowers, I would suggest it's really still advised to get expert advice when it comes to these sorts of things because they're not cheap. And if you make one wrong movement, it could cost you tens of thousands of pounds. So
Mm.
definitely worth speaking to someone worth their salt in that arena, I would say, when it comes to bridging. And be warned if you don't.
Oh, well, there we go. We'll end on that note. There we go. Thank you for that. Hopefully, that has proved useful to anyone listening to this, watching this video, and I'm sure we'll be back with another episode soon. Bye.